Hey y'all, this is Judith of judithtomorrow.com, Judith Tomorrow Design, and we're doing a new moon reading. The new moon was this Sunday, which was yesterday, October 27th. And I'm decided to be overly ambitious, and I'm actually doing a full reading. So three cards is my small full reading. But I'm going to start with this first one. It's called Meeting. See that? It's a four of motion. I'm going to start a little bit with a story, which is one of the things this card reminds me of. So when I was younger, I lived with roommates. The roommate had a dog named Rufus. We had a dog named Tasha. And he went backpacking, and he dropped his backpack off on the floor when he got home. And then he went off and did some stuff for a couple of days, and he didn't unpack his backpack. And over time, we noticed that the dogs were acting very strangely every time they moved near the backpack. And almost like, they were friendly to each other, but almost like, arr, arr. So all of a sudden, he's like, oh, there's a ham sandwich in there that's been sitting there, and they can smell it. We can't smell it. But after 3 days, the dogs were becoming more and more conscious and territorial about that sandwich. This card Meeting, is a little bit about that, in the sense that we often can smell what we want when other people are not necessarily aware of what it is that we smell and are going for. Meeting is about going for the thing that we smell, even if nobody else smells it. It's about emerging into the world, following our goals, ambitions, our gut feelings about what it is that we're here for, and relentlessly pursuing that. So the image itself, if you can see, there's a humanoid. All of my people are humanoids. I don't know really what they are. There's one humanoid in here, and there's all these wonderful layers of material, energy, whatever. And then there's another humanoid kind of person, a being right here. And they are connecting to each other. They can feel, they are aware of each other, even though that there's this layer of material running between them that may block their sight. They may block their logical mind. But they are moving towards each other. They are meeting. This being in here is enclosed, and this being out here is part of the world. So that process that we go through when we relentlessly, consistently move, not even aggressively, but consistently and fiercely move towards what we are here to meet, that's what this card is about. And that is the primary card for this this cycle. That's a pretty cool one. So the second card here is Upheaval, which I know has been up here a couple of times. Seems like a theme maybe this year. Who knows? And the last card in a three-part reading is called Throat. I'm going to summarize those more lightly than the first one because they're both modifiers of this one. Upheaval is a large card. It's a big card. It's about bigness and stuff like that. And we've talked about it before as like that process of becoming bigger. And in the process of becoming bigger, releasing things that are no longer appropriate to you, right? So when we're talking about meeting and we're talking about upheaval together, like this, we're talking about what big moves in your life, what important things in your life are you moving towards? One of the important things about meeting is that it doesn't let you get distracted by the materials around you. It is a singular focused kind of a thing. So what are the big things that you're focusing on? Last one, Throat, is expression. It's about expression, but it's also about having faith that there is room enough to be yourself fully. It's about being yourself fully. It's about taking up space. It's a space card. So the three of these together, I will tell you how that they are manifesting themselves in the next month. In terms of our environment, this is a really good time to think about what you want to have take up space in your life and in your physical environment right now. What are the things, the few things, the big moves that you want to have take up space in your life in the next year? This seems like it's a year-long chunk of time. So let's say in the next year. Thinking about it right now, this moon cycle is about making those decisions about that and forming in your environment a space for those to happen. So one of the principles of my work is that everything that exists takes up space. That's how you can tell it's existing. It takes up space. It takes up physical space. It takes up mental space. It takes up emotional space. It takes up space. And therefore, a corollary to that is that if you want something to exist, give it space. So how this may translate in your office, for example, is what qualities, actions, experiences do you want to have take up space in your office, and which ones are you ready to let go? That's the upheaval part. What things are you going to let go of that are smaller, distracting, don't fit you anymore, so that you can be big, so you can have that space. A second way, a way that it's showing up in my life right now is in this placemaker journey. I've talked about how this is a big shift for me right now because my kids, my adult children, semi-adult, they're 18, they're 19 and 21, have moved out. And so we've got extra space in this house all of a sudden. And how do I want to plan that space? It's not like we're like stripping their beds out. They'll have a place to stay and so forth and so on. But, my son has moved his furniture out. We have like a semi-empty room. And I've mentioned this before. I've been using that as a yoga space. And I'm also setting up a sewing table, which I haven't sewn consistently since I was in my teens. It was one of my first big loves as a textile artist. So, and there are other functions to that space, but I'm being very conscious about what is important and how to fit that in to my environment. So this month, think about that. These are the steps I would say that you can take yourself through. Think about what is important to you, what qualities. For example, you could say the quality of positive relationships with my family is something that I want to take up space, right? Think about a little bit about, the quality that you want. And the space that it may take up may be a social space. You may relook at your living room and say, how do I create my living room to facilitate this very important quality of relationships? Maybe it's your dining room. Maybe you actually set it up so that instead of fighting against your daughter or your son who keep doing their homework all over the table, and that's not what it's for. It's a dining room, and you have this You may say, actually, the priority for me is this quality of relationship I want, and I want to be connected to my daughter or son while they're doing their homework, because that's what they're doing all the time, right? Instead of them going off into their rooms, how do I create this space, this dining room space, to facilitate that quality of relationship and accept that that is the space that it is happening in, which is, about power. It's not always the mom telling the kids where to put stuff. Sometimes it's the kids, our kids this is their space too. They have a capacity to inform it, and they should. So think about what's important. Think about how you want that to take up the space and what physical environment would facilitate that. And there are some tips and tricks that I could say. One of the things that I do sometimes is like draw a floor plan. Loose, doesn't have to be to scale, of your house, and drop in the functions that are actually being performed in those areas right now, both the action functions and the emotional functions and the psychological functions, and see what is currently taking up space in your environment. And also a cool thing to do is who owns that space. Oh, the things you will find. That's called a territory map. So consider doing that if you want a place to start. What's important? Where do you want to put it? And what do you got going on right now in your space? And become conscious of it. And then you can make important choices about where that energy goes. So that's this new moon cycle. That's going to be for 28 days from here, roughly. And I'll probably come back a couple of times and give you more tips and tricks. And if you're interested in that, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel, which I believe the button is over here somewhere, and hit the notification bell, and you'll get little email every time I post a new video. You can also subscribe to my newsletter. You won't get all of the videos that I post, but you'll get some of the bigger ones, and you can check in and see what's going on. And also, if you want to actually go through this process of choosing, how you're using your environment consciously and how you're taking up space and how you can change your environment to hold those things that you want to bring into your physical environment and into your world, you can take my How to Create a Home Office Like You Mean It class. Even though it's about home offices and I focus on home offices, it's actually applicable. The structure is applicable to any kind of space, living rooms, dining rooms, and so forth. And it's a blast, and I am holding a spontaneous last of the year one in November. And I'll put the link to that below. And it's like this end of the year wrap up. If you want to get things clear and ready to go for next year, this is an excellent opportunity. This class is a blast. It's small. We workshop your spaces individually. So you get lots and lots of feedback, and every person who's ever taken it, as far as I know, has loved it completely. So below is the How to Create a Home Office Like You Mean It. I'll be teaching another class starting in January about working with energy. So sign up to my newsletter, and that will keep you in the loop. All right. Thank you so much, and take care of yourself. I will see you next week. All right. Bye-bye.